Hello.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Bitcoin Way Live. I have Tony with me. Tony, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm great, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Good to catch up with you. We've been
Of
kind of running
course,
in
of
opposite
course,
directions.
man. How are we doing? How has the crowd started to trickle in yet?
They are trickling in, man. We've got a handful of people here already. Zen for one. Hello, all. Good to have you.
Welcome, guys. Welcome,
You
welcome. Very
we got
happy you guys are all here.
Op Santos OX. Hey, Bitcoiners. Good to see you, sir. He said, Tony, you'll like this. Do not give up your coins. that is
That's right.
that is the message right there. Zen said they missed the show last Friday. It was up in the attic completing ductwork to vent miners outside. That's a good reason, an acceptable reason to miss the show is if you were completing ductwork to vent your miners outside. That's a good thing to be doing. Don't need heating in Florida. Yeah, no kidding. Just got back from there. It is toasty. Op Santos, DCA is the way, step by step, sat by sat.
That's
Yes, I love
correct.
I love it. Yeah, let's keep the chat active. Thank you all for tuning in here. Man, Tony, we've got a number of things we could. I was looking through all the news, all the things we could cover. I got to start with something really bullish, and we'll come back to the chat and welcome some more people in. But I do want to talk to you a little bit about, and we've talked about it on Bitcoin Banter. We've talked about it in the live stream, but now, oh, I got the wrong story pulled up here. Square has auto enabled. They've turned it on. They've auto enabled Bitcoin payments, Lightning payments at their 4 million merchants. So my understanding of this is if you want to pay with Bitcoin and they accept Square by default, that is turned on. So pretty exciting news. We talk about medium of exchange use case all the time. Tony, how bullish are you on this this news that we're seeing?
This is, one of the most exciting headlines you can possibly read as a Bitcoiner, because as the ignorant masses run away scared, the intelligent folks are quietly building and paving the way for Bitcoin becoming the future of money. This is Bitcoin being integrated in everyday life seamlessly without, any big fanfare. Merchants now that are using Square, and there's a lot of them, I think over a little over 4 million merchants now automatically have the ability to accept real money, with zero effort. There's no learning curve involved. There's no workout involved. It's just there. So all they need to do is plop a sticker, on their front, door and say Bitcoin accepted here, and that'll potentially unlock a market that they will never have access to had they not done that. Bitcoin is becoming, subconsciously, or is going to rather become money in the heads of regular folks. Now they walk into a store, and if it's one of these Square people, you're going to see cash, credit card, Bitcoin, cash, credit card, Bitcoin. And so it's going to register this as a form of payment. And if the merchant is smart enough, they would incentivize the purchase, the payments in Bitcoin by giving discounts. And so folks who've never used Bitcoin before, by default, are just going to want the discount, right? And so by hook or by crook, they're going to want to pay in it because for them it's just cheaper. And since there's zero effort on the part of the individual, they just tap. And Square acts like the middleman to convert that payment into Bitcoin for the merchant. Happy win-win on both sides. So this is extremely, extremely bullish. Most people will probably end up using Bitcoin without realizing it, in situations like this. But for anyone paying attention, this is very, very strong signal. And Square is just one of many developers and solutions that we're going to start hearing of more and more now, that push and cement Bitcoin as part of everyday life now. It's no longer seen as this high-risk, volatile, speculative asset, which it never was. But for some reason, for so many years, a lot of people to this day want to bundle it into that world that it doesn't belong to, which is why most of them end up losing their funds.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think this is going to give Jack and the Square team an advantage over others, obviously, as the first movers. You're going to have Bitcoiner-owned businesses who switch to Square as their payment terminal because it's just so much easier. It's funny. I don't want to distract from the story because I want to make sure we come back to this. But I was talking to Dave Birnbaum yesterday. I recorded a podcast with him, and he was talking about how AI agents are preferring or demonstrating that, at least in hypothetical scenarios, which it makes total sense, they want to use Bitcoin predominantly for store of value, but also, very competitively with stable coins for medium of exchange. And we kind of had this back and forth because we ended up talking about his push in his home state for a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And my comment to him was, my concern with strategic Bitcoin reserves, ETFs, all of these things is that it's the big institutions, the nation states, who are basically saying, who I'm fearful are trying to bucket Bitcoin as not a medium of exchange technology. They want you to think it's digital gold. You'll be rich and depressed, right? The world's not going to get better. And I circled back. I said, you know what? I'm probably over concerned about that, because the point he was making in the earlier part of the episode was these agents want to use Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. And when they see that Tether is censorable and is permissioned, they're going to opt for Bitcoin completely. They're going to opt out of stable coins. And then when you couple that with news like what we're talking about here with Square, so you've got potentially millions or billions eventually of agents who want to operate with Bitcoin. And then you've got Square, who's just saying, if you've got brick and mortar, if you've got an online shop and you use our technology, you can accept Bitcoin by default. And then you can decide what you do with that. If you want to sell it for a bunch of toilet paper, you can do that. But we're going to allow people to pay with the currency that they want to pay with. And that's going to increasingly be Bitcoin. So between that conversation yesterday and then this news obviously coming out this week, I think this is incredibly exciting. This to me is like a nothing stops this train moment for Bitcoin.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been saying this forever. Bitcoin is the torrents of money, man. There's no chance you stop this. Peer-to-peer electronic cash. There's no. That's it. You know, the idea has come, and there's no stopping it. Square is also not going to be like the only player offering this. I am expecting to see a lot more solutions like Square pop out, all over the place at some point. And as far as AI agents, of course, they're going to use Bitcoin. Like we are headed into we are currently in a situation that I see there's a war between centralization and decentralization. And if you factor in the incentives and where things are headed, decentralization wins, man. Like open source, AI agents, autonomous thinking, hyper intelligence, all of these things are not going to function in a system that is created to repress, suffocate, bind, and limit. This is like I don't know, like a V12 engine, on full throttle here, and it just wants to go. And the more you try to restrict it, the more it's going to just like bust through that wall and run right over you. So I don't see anything that is bearish about this news. In fact, this is the news that makes me really, really excited. And the fact that the Bitcoin dollar price is so low adds to that excitement because it gives people paying attention to this news such a massive advantage, for the time being, for a limited window, to put themselves, that much further ahead in the Bitcoin world. Because, when the rest of the population clues into this, these numbers are going to explode into, into digits we've never seen before. And I don't think it's going to take that long, man. I mean, all of these distractions that we see around the world, be it the wars, be it, headline news about tariffs or whatever other bullshit that they come up with, this is just, these are like symptoms of a failing system that is desperately trying to say and do anything to make you believe that it's not failing. But it's done. It's game over. And Bitcoin is going to be, in my opinion, absorbing all of that world as it panic exits out of the legacy system into something that is definitely the way the future is headed.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. And if for no other reason than the branding that's going to come from this news, from this announcement for Bitcoin, that you have this option. People begin to, even the most normie of normies is going to see more Bitcoin preferred or Bitcoin accepted stickers on windows. And even if that's a really slow trickle, who cares? The fact that they can see it as an option, they hear about it on the news, they begin to think of it as a form of currency, as peer-to-peer electronic cash, not as what they describe on CNBC, right? It's volatile. What's the price today? So that will still be there, and that's an uphill battle that we continue to fight. But when you have it sort of juxtaposed with, it's just money, you can go spend it, you can use it, you can buy your coffee with it, by the way, which was always the complaint of the people in the early days of Bitcoin. I can't buy my coffee with it. Well, it's like now you can. All you got to do is find the people who have Square currently, and then you can go buy your coffee. And that's probably a lot of coffee shops across the country. So no more whining.
And it's really hard to beat the incentives of freedom money. That's literally what Bitcoin is. I mean, just compare the two of them, right? You've got a currency, real money, that is not controlled by any living soul. It doesn't have rules. It has its own rules, but these are rules of math and cryptography that no living soul can screw around with. There's no regulations, there's no restrictions, there's no sanctions, there's no censorship, there's no somebody chasing you and threatening to kill you if you don't use it. There's none of that in Bitcoin. And you look at the fiat currency with anyone, look at the complete opposite of that list. They're all bundled here. And if you look at the world problems today, every single one of them, no exceptions, every single one of them is funded by that same garbage paper that people are slaving for. All your tax rules, all your limitations, all your KYC, AML, all that garbage is attached to this worthless piece of paper.
Yep.
Why would you stay in this world when you have an option to give it the middle finger? Right now, we have to deal with the transition, right? So there are things that you have to, navigate. But the more people opt out, the more irrelevant this world becomes.
Yeah.
And this is what we're starting to see. This
Yeah.
is the signal that we're starting to see, because if this wasn't happening, Square wouldn't bother, offering all of these solutions. The tons of developers coming out with solutions now, they wouldn't bother because people are not interested in it. But the fact that there are so much coming out is because the demand it's on fire by enough people who are paying attention to the right things and not watching those meaningless numbers on a screen all day, right? Like, these are the people who don't understand anything and who almost always lose at Bitcoin, which is mind-boggling considering how simple it is. You hold it, you save it, you use it as money, done. You sleep like a baby at night. But no, you have to speculate, you have to borrow, you have to leverage, you have to do all sorts of fucking crazy, circus acts, and at the end of the day, lose your funds like a clown. That's what I see. And I wake up in the morning, this part of the world that's like completely retarded doing all of this nonsense, and you've got the intelligent money paying attention to the right signals, and they're like, I'm happy these idiots are losing their funds because that's giving me an advantage to keep moving ahead for the sake of myself, my family, my whoever's gonna come down, next in my family line. So very bullish news, guys. I mean, I can't tell you how excited I am when I read these headlines, because it's just, cements what we've been saying for such a long time now. Peer-to-peer electronic cash. You cannot stop this train.
I love it, Tony. You got a little fire on this Tuesday. Maybe we should have been doing Tuesdays and Thursdays long before. You're ready to go,
man. I'm always on fire when it comes to Bitcoin, which is why it frustrates me when people just don't get it. It's like you're willingly putting yourself in a world of hell when Disneyland is just like literally a few steps away. Like, why would you do it?
Oh, hey, speaking of, I'll tell you what, man. People are going to figure it out. Because, I mean, obviously, for all the reasons we talk about all the time, they're going to get hit with real pain. So I got a great story. This morning, my sister-in-law was, we were like in a group family text that we had going, was talking about she needs to pay a contractor in cash. And she needs to pay them in like the next 7 days or something, like before he starts the project or whatever. And her bank that she uses does not have like traditional banking services. You can't like withdraw cash from this bank. Like I don't understand what the arrangement is. So she has to either find someone to transfer money to, which is going to take a couple of days, who can withdraw, $5,000 or $10,000 of cash or whatever. Or she needs to go set up a checking account at a separate bank and transfer funds there, which still takes time. And then but the problem with the new bank is you can't just go withdraw $5,000 or $10,000 on day one, because like that's fishy. So there's like a 30-day waiting period for any withdrawal over a couple $1,000s. And so I texted her and I said, it's not money. It's not yours. They don't have it anyway. Got Bitcoin. That was my text back to her. So like people are going to be orange pilled just because of how stupid the legacy system is.
Well, look at the workouts you have to go through to deal with this rubbish.
Gosh, it's brutal. Brutal, man.
Like I don't know how patient people are, but at some point it's gonna run out, right? Because when you stack on top of it that all this bullshit workout is for something that is losing purchasing power at a rate much faster than anyone can, blink on. At some point you have to question your sanity as to what am I doing?
Absolutely. Tony, we got a bunch in the chat here. Let me just say hi to a few people. We've got Dreadstone. Gentlemen, hello from Belfast, Northern Ireland. Good to have you.
Hello, welcome.
We've got Matthew J is back. Let's go. We've got Clean Your Machine Inc. official. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Happy to have you guys here. It's always a pleasure.
Another regular, Elaine.
How's it going, Elaine?
And hey, Goober. Hi, y'all. Hey, Goober, are you from the South, or is the y'all just for fun? We've got Op Santos. Bitcoin is money.
It's the only money. It's the only money that's money.
Yeah. Well, hey, Tony, you can't forget about gold. I mean, all you got to do is carry a backpack, full of
Gold,
bars.
in
And
gold. Okay, whatever. Sure. We'll give
uh,
gold a little high five here for
Kel-
time's sake.
Kelvin Watson, good morning, everyone. Matthew's just saying hi to some people. Does anyone know Square fees? I don't. Open Notes 1%. I think they're waiving. Are they waiving fees for like a month
I
or
think so
something?
for a little while. Whatever the fees are, man, they're going to be less than your traditional fees. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, all of these guys are, they're done because as low as the fees are now, expect them to keep on going lower as adoption grows.
It's gonna be incredibly low. Like, and it already is. Like, if you just want to transact on Lightning, it's so much cheaper than using a credit card or something.
It's pennies, man. It's like pennies, regardless of the amount. It's like you don't even think about it.
Tony Op Santos, what's your take on Monero?
Hey, look, man, I have nothing against Monero. It's definitely got its use case, but I wouldn't put my savings in it.
Yeah, absolutely. What I'll say about it is, so let's suppose, for argument's sake, I have not looked deeply into Monero. Let's say, for argument's sake, it is a better version of Bitcoin. The problem is you still need the network effect to be so great that the network is secure, that there's stuff being built on it, like really in a meaningful way. I think we talked about this maybe last year, Tony. Wasn't there like a 51% attack on Monero? So like, even if the code itself is awesome and it really is like the best version of Bitcoin or whatever, it doesn't matter if the network's not secure. And like, to me, that's a deal breaker. So, and I think that should be a deal breaker to anyone.
Yeah, I mean, as good as it is, and as much as I like it, I don't think it's going to become like a global standard. What I see happening is we're going to start seeing much better privacy solutions, come about on Bitcoin, which maybe doesn't give the exact same result that Monero does, but for 8.3 billion people and for global adoption, it'll do the job, and it'll continue to get better as time progresses. But as far as Monero is concerned, my big respect to the team. What they have done is absolutely stellar here, which is why they're banned from so many places. That's the signal that's actually good.
Yeah, good for them. Good for them. What I appreciate is that there are a lot of privacy advocates who I do trust and respect, who like Monero. I still think my qualms with Monero seem valid to me. Matthew J says that Monero is a shitcoin. That's my take. And here's the thing, Matthew, you will never hear the Bitcoin way shill Monero, but I don't personally bucket it in the same group category as Ethereum and XRP. My general sense is I appreciate this, like the seriousness of the people who are building on it, using it. I think it probably has use cases that seem interesting. I just don't care. Bitcoin does what I need it to do. It has the network effect. It's the most secure network ever to exist in humanity, and I don't need to spend a whole lot of time thinking about much else. Let's see. Yeah, this is a good point. Square Bitcoin payments by default are converted to US dollars for the vendor.
Yeah, there you go, Ben. I think at some point they can set a percentage if they want to keep some of it in Bitcoin, but that's to be confirmed. Like, I'm not using Square myself, but that's what I've heard from folks who are.
We've got a good morning from Rockabilly. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Or ma'am. Let's see. Matthew's just chiming back in on the Monero debate. Nothing that Bitcoin or L2s don't do. Yeah, no, I think that's it. Bitcoin does what we want it to do.
Yeah, look, Monero has its use case. It's not something that I would worry about more than that.
Yeah. Let's see if we got a bunch of Matthew says Tony dropping that fire. Tony, you I don't know if you noticed this. You came out a little more fiery than even normal Tony this morning. You were amped up there for your first rant, man.
I don't know, man. I read the headlines and it gets my blood flowing.
Yeah. Believe me, there's plenty to get your blood flowing these days. Man, Ron's back. Ron, good to see you, man. I hope we get to catch up in Vegas. Let's see, from the South. Oh, hey, Goobers from South America. Okay. How do you say y'all in Espanol?
Y'all?
We've got Lost Mask from Moscow.
Nice. Privyet.
Yeah,
That's as
Tony's
far as it goes, my friend.
man, dude, I missed a lot of comments while we were ranting.
Yeah, man. Bring up any questions.
Yeah. Hey, if anyone's got questions, please. We want to bat them around. Little property in Canada, tenant pays $950 a month rent. Just bought 1 point.
Hey,
If I
clean
keep
your
renting the
machine.
property,
If I had a Satoshi for every time somebody asked me that, man,
should I?
I'd have a lot of
Yeah.
Bitcoin. We can't give financial advice, dude. But what I can tell you is that a lot of people are doing just that. But it's a personal choice, right? It's no one's going to come out and say, yes, you have to do this. It depends on your situation. It depends on your conviction. It depends on many factors. But if you are going to do it, that at least do it and then put yourself in a jurisdiction where you don't have to worry about anything afterwards, right? Where you don't have to worry about taxes, you don't have to worry about retarded regulations and things of that sort. So it's like it's not just a one-step process. It's like it's a whole 1, 2, and 3. Like see it through if you're going to go through it.
Yeah, it's here's sort of where I stand is if I owned second, third, any rental properties, I would sell them and go straight into Bitcoin, eliminate the headache. Now I guess you could make a case. Well, I need cash flow to live. And so if you own 10 properties and like, that's how you're paying your bills or something, I kind of understand that. But if it's like, if you're viewing it as like a savings vehicle or for tax reasons or anything like that, my personal opinion, not financial advice, would be I would sell that immediately. The only thing I'm holding on to is my primary residence. And that's because I've got an awesome setup, family compound. Like we live close to loved ones. And, it's worth the trade-off to me of not having more Bitcoin for lifestyle. But other than that, I'm looking to get more Bitcoin.
Or you can see if you can reproduce your situation in a friendlier jurisdiction. Like if you come to us, for example, in Panama, maybe you can, repurchase some properties here and, rent them out as well. I mean, that exists here, except, the environment to do that is not hostile.
Yeah.
So something to consider.
That's an important point because people look at different like I view Bitcoin as savings, not an investment. But I also think there are legitimate ways that people can say, hey, I'm going to take some amount of my capital and I'm going to invest it. I'm going to seek greater returns in something. But where you do that can matter a whole hell of a lot, because especially if it's something that's stationary, like a piece of real estate, it matters if the government's going to get involved, if they're going to pass local ordinances and screw you over. Because now you can't do my hometown, you can't do short-term rentals anymore. Just arbitrarily, unilaterally removed the ability for people to do short-term rentals in my neighborhood. And a bunch of people probably got screwed because they were stuck in real estate. So you've got to be mindful of those sorts of things. Let's see if we got anything else. Matthew J's asking if we think eCash can solve some of the anonymity concerns with Bitcoin.
Yeah, it definitely can. You definitely can. You just have to be mindful of the risks of it. But I mean, they're very low, but they still exist. Like, so you have to just make sure you understand everything with the utility that you're using.
Yeah. Tony, this is a question that you will want to answer. What about people without any house and rent with no savings in the UK? How can we go to another country without the massive investments that these countries want?
Wow, that's a very good question, man. That's a challenging one.
Yeah.
I guess if you can secure yourself, a well-paying job, in the location where you want to go, and that's enough to cover you to live there and to present, I guess, the formalities to become a legal resident of that jurisdiction, that could be an option. Otherwise, there's costs to everything, unfortunately, and that's just how it is.
Yeah. Okay, we got another one. I like that a lot of these are related to the topic of Bitcoin is MOE. How much have you integrated eCash, Liquid, et cetera, into your daily life use cases? I didn't get past Lightning. Yeah, I use Lightning. I mean, Lightning is basically how I pay for anything in Bitcoin.
You use them, as you understand them well. Like don't just dive headfirst into something, if you haven't done the research about it. I mean, Liquid is great, Lightning is great. I haven't used eCash as much, but Liquid and Lightning almost daily, man.
Yeah. Tony, good morning, Sat Stackers. Tony and Michael, what's your opinion of a plan B in Southeast Asia, the Philippines specifically, compared to some of the others in Central America? Tony, I'll let you talk about Panama specifically. The one comment I'll make is I wouldn't have known this about the Philippines until the war in Iran, but they are very energy dependent, apparently.
Yeah.
So there's like an energy state of emergency going on there. So I think probably trying to find a jurisdiction that has some level of its own self-sovereignty, right? Less reliance on a particular power, not an importer of crucial things like oil or LNG or things like that. I don't know what Panama's state is. The good thing about Panama, though, is they do have the Panama Canal, and so there is tons of traffic coming through there. They're collecting tolls and sort of have the ability to afford a bit of self-sovereignty that some countries just don't have that advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, there are many jurisdictions out there, and everything looks nice when everything is okay. But right now we are living through very testing circumstances, right? And so this is where you start seeing cracks in foundations, countries that aren't able to sustain themselves when things go really bad. And the thought of, oh no, this will never happen. Well, that's been destroyed these days. Everything can happen, and it often does when you least expect it. Southeast Asia are beautiful places, no doubt. I personally wouldn't go there simply for the reasons that we stated earlier, especially the ones we're seeing now, energy crisis, and the regulations over there don't seem to be as consistent as, like, for example, places like Panama. So that's also a factor that we took into consideration before deciding on this place. And of course, there's personal preference. I mean, some people, no matter what, they're going to prefer one place over another, and that's fine. But if you really want to check all the boxes, there's going to come a point in time where there's trade-offs you're going to have to accept, right? Like, you're going to have to prioritize certain things over others. Safety, nutrition, things of that sort will come, way above nice beaches and weather and all that fun stuff. But right now we are focusing on Panama. It's not to say we're not keeping our eyes open, on the global landscape as things change and progress. Who knows, man? But for now, we focus on one good thing, and we really make sure that it's excellent.
Yeah, that's and by the way, if you want to go schedule a call with our team, I threw the QR code up there. We can talk you through the process for Plan B and self-custody, all the other things that we do. But really, we're seeing so many people who are excited to find a new jurisdiction. I mean, we talk about this all the time. If you've tuned in, all the clown world news that we cover. A lot of good reasons to find, and maybe it's not a place you move to right away, but it's a place that that you can get to if we have COVID 2.0 style lockdowns because of an energy crisis, or that you're not going to be able to take a walk in the forest like some parts of Canada moving forward, like all this crazy stuff. It's good to have a plan B. So scan the QR code. Tony, we did have another question on that. Hang on, let me get it pulled up. How easy is it to get the right to live and work in Panama, and to get resident permit is what specifically?
It's very easy. I mean, we handle the entire process for you here. I mean, there's literally the only thing you have to do is just pay the invoice and show up when your papers are ready. We meet you here in person. Of course, we need about 5 days with you on the ground just to cover all the the basic logistics. But after that, you get your residency card in your hand, and then you can decide to do what you want. You can either stay there or you can leave. Panama doesn't require you to live in the country in order to remain a resident of it. But you have to keep in mind that that's very different from becoming a tax resident of Panama, in which case you're going to have to prepare to stay for 6 months or more. And that's not specific only to Panama. That's any country out there. They're not going to allow anyone just to come in for like a week or so, and then you consider yourself a tax resident. So even if Panama doesn't care that you're not living there, your current home jurisdiction will probably harass you about that. And so you would need to have a legitimate proof that you're a tax resident elsewhere. But to get the residency process, very easy. If you're interested, give us a call. Our team member will walk you through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, like Tony said, the team will meet you boots on the ground. And if you've never had a cigar with Tony before and a Hendrix on Ice, it's worth the price of entry alone. So make sure you look into that. Tony, we've got a question from Personal Budgeting. Is it okay to have just one cold wallet?
Yeah, of course. Technically, it's okay to have it. I would recommend you have more than one just for redundancy. Like, if you lose it or break it or something happens to it and you don't want to, freak out until you receive your other one, just make sure you have at least two, with you, and ideally in different places, and you'll sleep better at night.
Yeah, I like to keep a redundant couple. I sleep better at night. I think that's it, and that's a lot of people's concerns about self custody. Is, well, what if I lose my seed phrase? And it's like, you only lose your seed phrase if you just refuse to think about how you ensure redundancy. And having a backup wallet, multiple backup wallets, your seed phrase stamped into metal, those kinds of things. There are so many ways that you can do it that you will never have to worry about losing your seed phrase.
Absolutely. I mean, we cover all of these details meticulously well during all our consults with our clients. I mean, we show you how to build redundancy and almost like a bulletproof, airtight methodology that you like. I mean, you really have to go out of your way to screw up once it's in place. And the good news about Bitcoin and self custody, once it's properly done, is that the hardware doesn't really matter. Like, I mean, once everything is set up, if you don't want to take any of your hardware, be it your cold wallet, your node, your computer, like on a plane, for example, some people worry about that. Let's say you leave everything behind. It's no problem. As long as you have access to your seed words and everything else that's involved in the construction of your wallet, when you land at your destination, you just need to repurchase the necessary hardware and everything can be reconstructed in under 30 minutes, even if the hardware is different from what you initially started with. That is the power of proper self-custody. This is why it's absolutely, like when people tell me they're going to stop self-custody, I'm like, yeah, good luck with that. It's it's like trying to stop the sun from shining.
Yeah. So we got this question. Can I ask, when traveling, would you carry a cold wallet on you? Not to Hong Kong, apparently.
Well, yeah, some countries now are being little pricks about this, but apparently the follow-up on the Hong Kong story is that it's not just random. They need to have a warrant. It needs to be very specific court-approved cases. So I think that initial story that came out was a little exaggerated. You'd have to confirm it, but based on the follow-up reading that I've done, it seems like it has to be a very specific case for it.
That's good. That's good. Elaine says, only when escaping should you be taking those things. A
lot of people travel with cold wallets all the time. Nobody even looks at them or questions them. I don't know how it is. If you're asking from like a US standpoint, I have no idea. I'm not there. But in several countries, like in many countries around the world where, we travel, so far, we haven't had any issues and we haven't heard of any issues from any of our clients that are coming from all over the globe either. Some people just psychologically, think it's maybe not a good idea, but that's like a personal choice. I haven't heard of actual situations where that posed a problem. And even if they did take your cold wallet, I mean, if it's set up properly, you have nothing to worry about. There's no access to it. And the information on it, is for the most part can either be nuked or is empty to begin with.
Yeah. This is a good question from Kelly the Good. Should the second wallet be the same type as the first, or should you have two different types of air-gapped open source wallets? I'll tell you, my opinion is it doesn't matter. I think it's really nice to have experience with multiple wallets. I think like the ability to be adaptable. So that way, if you buy, wallet A, and that's the only thing you're familiar with, and then they're out of stock when you need to get a new one, or you want to add redundancy and you don't have familiarity with another one. Well, now if you've got wallet A and B that you're comfortable with, you've been trained with, I just find like that versatility is again, it's like it helps me sleep at night knowing that I'm comfortable with my setup in multiple sort of configurations.
No, you're spot on. So I don't know if that answers your question, Kelly, but the hardware really doesn't matter. So if you want to diversify, just in case something comes about with one model, you have the other one to fall back to. Yeah.
All righty. We got just some kind words from McKibben TV. Keep up the good work, guys. We really
Thank you,
appreciate
sir.
that. Personal budgeting. I mean, this guy's really curious about.
Man, it
He,
doesn't matter who Satoshi was. It was ET as far as I'm concerned. Doesn't really matter, man. Stop looking for Satoshi. You're never gonna find him, them, her, whatever it is.
I don't think anything about Satoshi. I'm grateful to Satoshi, to him, her, they, whoever. Kelly says, good point. Yeah, no, I'm glad that's helpful. Tony, I want to move on to the next bit of news. By the way,
Let's
keep the
go.
comments coming. All the questions are great.
Yeah, guys, your questions are excellent. Keep on coming.
So, Tony, I actually switched this up on you. The next one I wanted to talk about was Nakamoto disclosing its 10K filing yesterday. Yeah, that had sold approximately 284 Bitcoin in March for about 20 million, average sale price of about $70,000. In 2025, they purchased them with, I think it was like $120,000. Oh, yeah, bought it 118. Justin Beckler's, he said, a company that exists to hold Bitcoin is dumping at a 40% loss. Tony, say it with me. I told you so.
And I hate to have to, say these words, but what do you expect? Shitcoiners will do what shitcoiners do best, try to scam and rug pull people. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. They're not the first, definitely not the last. Stay away from fiat games, man. The entire currency, fiat itself, was a lie, a Ponzi to begin with. So everything built on top of that lie is also going to be a lie, and just in a different form factor. So if you don't want to, risk losing your funds, which I'd say over 90% of the cases you do end up with exactly that, then you opt out of that world entirely. Leave it behind, man. You don't need that world, that garbage anymore. Walk into pristine money that is incorruptible, rules without rulers. You are the master of your own universe in Bitcoin. Nobody else. No permission. No headaches, no fuss, no mess. Do it right. Learn how to use it. Sleep like a baby at night. Done. Oh, and move the jurisdictions that actually want you as a human being, and surround yourself by people like you. People like us. People who are there when you need them. People who are always willing to help. People that are just Bitcoiners. That Bitcoiner mindset. That warrior, survival, freedom loving, maximalist mindset. That is, the best insurance policy, I think, in my opinion, going into the future that we're headed towards.
Yeah. And by the way, my take on these treasury companies is like when we started sort of dunking on them and like, hey, these are fiat products. I didn't really have any sense as to whether or not they were going to go, whether you were going to make fiat dollars investing in them or you were going to lose fiat dollars investing in them. I mean, I think so far it looks like you're going to lose fiat dollars investing in them. Generally, maybe strategies an exception or something like that. But in general, I didn't have like a strong opinion as to whether or not it's going up or down. For me, it's always been just more principled than that. It's not Bitcoin. It's paper. It's a derivative of paper Bitcoin. It's them buying Bitcoin on your behalf. Totally speculative. Could go way up in fiat purchasing power. Could go way down in fiat purchasing power. I don't know. Don't care though. It's still a fiat product. I want Bitcoin in self-custody. I want self-sovereignty. I want freedom. I want censorship-resistant money that I can go to a Square terminal and buy my coffee with. Can't do that with Nakamoto, Strategy, or anything else. And it's beyond an investment. It's a speculation at this point. We have no idea what the future holds. Even if Nakamoto goes to the moon over the next 12 months, my position, I think, still stands and it's valid. It's speculation. It's just a fiat speculative product that I think most people need to very strongly consider avoiding, not financial advice.
Of course, man. Stay away from scam, guys. I mean, that's like the number one rule here.
Yeah. The sad thing is Kelly the Good makes a good point. 40% drop. Perfect smash buy.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Well, you can also smash sell. It turns out if you're a treasury company whose job it is to buy Bitcoin. Let's see. Elaine says only Bitcoin. It's never a mistake. That's it. You know what? Right. I told my wife this. She has to listen to me sometimes rant about this. I said, what I love about working at the Bitcoin way, and I'd have a really hard time finding another Bitcoin job that was suitable to me anyway. I was like, I will never, ever, ever regret telling people stack sats, take 100% self-custody, and use Bitcoin as money. And at the end of the day, that is our message, right? And anywhere else you go, it's like there's always some nuance. It's like, well, except for, this Bitcoin backed loan product is okay, or this treasury company is okay, or this compromise on your custody setup is okay. And it's like, it may be, but I know that I will never regret telling people take self-custody. And very well may regret any of these other things.
Look, I'll simplify it even more. Like many people around the globe, a lot of them are chasing the dollar, right? Because their own local currency is complete rubbish. And so people are always chasing the better currency, right? And so whatever local shitcoin you have that's not the dollar right now, people are, want to dump it and take the dollar. And so the dollar is the best shitcoin of that entire world of shitcoins. Right? But what happens when the best one of the shitcoins fails? Where do you go then? There's no more fiat to look for, right? Like the dollar is the end of the line in the fiat world. Where do you go next? You're going to invent some other country's currency? It doesn't exist. That's where Bitcoin comes in, right? The Bitcoin, the money that is not government or central bank issued, not controlled by any country or any living soul, right? And cannot be debased by stupid people. So where do you want to go? So the sooner you understand this, the sooner you protect yourself, which is why like the majority of folks out there are completely oblivious to this. They're chasing the dollar because that's all they understand, not because it's the better choice. It's because limited thinking, no access to proper education or messaging, whatever the case may be, the result is the same. But look at the dollar. Over $39 trillion in debt, unpayable, bankrupt for like it's game over. Like you can't fix this. How are you going? Like what are you gonna do to remedy the situation? You can't. So you're stuck if you print, and you're doomed if you don't print. So it's a dead end on both ends. So as long as you stay on that chessboard, whichever blow up happens, you're gonna go down with it, unless you're not on that chessboard anymore, and you're somewhere that cannot be debased or corrupted or blown up in the same way, right? Just look at the wars, man. Like to me, this is like the confirmation of everything that we're talking about here. Like this cannot possibly end well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the other thing is, Tony, one sort of edit to what you said. At the end of all the fiat currencies, your two options, it's not just Bitcoin, it's also walk into that prison cell of the CBDC, stablecoin, whatever it is that they want to configure. And so many people are going to...
That's what they're prepping for you.
Yeah, many people are going to find that out far too late, unfortunately. Let's see. Bob, I like this comment. Bob Lucas says, freedom has no dollar value. I say that the yield on Bitcoin is freedom. Let's see. Great to be here. Current state of global state and impending collapse. How much fiat cash should we have outside the banking system? Tony,
that's a very good question, man. And of course, we can't give financial advice, but I would say, I don't know, like give yourself a good, 6 months, six to 8 months stretch, just to navigate any turbulence. But, of course, that's you have to take into consideration your own personal situation. It differs from person to person.
Yeah, I do think if you still have fiat, I think having some cash on hand is probably a lot smart. It's losing value if it's in the bank or on hand. You'd be much better served if it's on hand.
Keep it with you.
Yeah, prepper perspective. We're all about self-custody, even if it's a bunch of worthless toilet paper. Let's see. We've got 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin, the best stable coin. That's right.
Absolutely.
Matthew J says, stay solvent. Yes. The goal is to stay solvent. Put the rest in Bitcoin. My goals don't have to be your goals. Yeah, that's true. I think everyone's at a different place in life. Everyone has different risk tolerances. Everyone has different levels of conviction and studying, and are in different places down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. So you've got to, absorb as much as you can from smart people in the space, but you've eventually got to take ownership and autonomy. So make the best decision for you and your family. Tony, let me jump into this is kind of more funny. I don't know, we're gonna have a lot to comment on it, but Stephen Murin, one of the Fed governors, said no evidence of inflation shock from oil. It's like, well, okay, no,
Yeah.
no shit, Sherlock.
Tell,
Give it like a
tell
week.
those, tell
Uh,
those yelling and cursing at the gas pump.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, I think I saw that fuel prices are hang on, actually maybe it was a reply. Let's see. Well, yeah, BitPay not happening is the new transitory.
Man, the level of gaslighting and bullshit in this clown world is at, all-time highs here. Like, how do these people, have the gall to go out in public and say this stuff?
Well, it was Putin's price hike when a couple of years ago when inflation hit, and so now I'm thinking, no, it has nothing to do with the war that we started. It has to do with they're going to come up with their narrative, and they're going to all the news anchors are going to be using the exact same phrasing and talk track to describe why your grocery shelves are empty or why a carton of milk is $20.
The sad thing is too many people still believe this nonsense. That's the sad part, because they don't have access to good intel. Yeah, gaslighting, pun intended. Correct.
Gaslighting at its finest. Man, Elaine, 650 where she lives. I think Elaine, did you say you were in California somewhere? Haven't looked today. It could definitely be higher. Yeah, it's like Weimar, Germany. It gets higher by the minute, and that's why we talked about Walmart putting digital price tags on their shelves. They can keep up with.
This was not to be cool, man. This is in preparation of what's coming.
Yeah, Elaine's in LA, which is, I assume that's Los Angeles and not Louisiana, but yeah, gas prices are absolutely crazy, and on like the West Coast, like where I don't know, I don't really pay attention because if I need gas, I need gas. But I think they're, I don't know, maybe $2.50, $3, something like that where I am. So it's a broad
bicycles and horses, man.
Dude, you know what? The energy crisis is we don't need Ozempic. The cure to obesity is an energy crisis. People are gonna have to walk and ride bikes.
Walk again, yeah.
and we're gonna get outside, fresh air, sunshine, lose a few pounds. Let's look on the bright side of the fact that they're totally screwing us over.
The glass is always half full if you put on the right lens. That's for sure.
That's right. Okay, Tony, we hang on. How much time do we have? Yeah, we're good. So we have to address this because I woke up. Hang on, was this morning that this came out? No, okay. I guess this was yesterday. I woke up to like 20 tweets about Google sounding the alarm on quantum. It could break your crypto. They didn't talk about any other use cases besides breaking crypto, is my understanding. But this is okay. We talked about this. Actually, Tony, didn't we talk about this on Banter that BIP 360 has been released on testnet, which is for everyone who's not following along with that. It's basically seeking to make quantum resistant wallet addresses and basically do the heavy lifting to make this all make Bitcoin usefully quantum resistant. But you have to imagine, Tony, people who are listening to this are tuned in, are seeing this news, and they're like, "Oh shit! Like maybe this is a bigger deal than I thought." Like, how would you sort of frame what your understanding of this is?
The mere fact that they only focused on Bitcoin tells me everything I need to know about this about this story. Because if and when quantum becomes a problem, Bitcoin is going to be like not even on the list of things you're going to have to worry about. Everything under the sky is going to fail, right? And so your Bitcoin is not going to be a priority. But the fact that they're only focusing on this is just to create unnecessary FUD. God knows who's paying them. The fact that it's Google automatically, for me, like disqualifies them as a trusted source of anything. Yeah. But a lot of people reacted obviously to this. But the good news is, for those again paying attention, there are solutions that are already being tested specifically for this, like today. So even by their claims, it's like not before 2029. I personally think we're nowhere near 2029. I think it's at least a decade away, but the solutions for it will probably be available like soon, like way before any imminent threat. And all it takes is an upgrade to your wallet. and then it's done. Then all of this hoopla becomes like a forgotten story within 5 minutes. But of course, they have to sensationalize, that, and cause fear and panic and anxiety because they want to, whatever the reasons is. Follow the money, man. Follow the source who's doing it. Google is not someone I would take seriously.
Yeah. And a lot of the people who are reposting this, by the way, they've got VC money. They've got a solution to sell.
Of course, man. All the rubbish, all the garbage that's out there, of course they push this because they get paid for it. So
I've got a couple comments on this. So I want to be measured. So while it is true, I think quantum could be a threat to a lot of things. What is admittedly unique about Bitcoin is its decentralized nature. It is much more trivial for Google or Facebook or your local bank to upgrade their systems in order to be quantum resistant than it is a bunch of people all getting together and saying, hey, here's the code that we think we should run. What do you think? And like the back and forth. It's harder to organize. You're hurting cats when you're trying to make upgrades to Bitcoin. However, and also one other comment, there are certain cryptographic algorithms that are not or are less susceptible to quantum than others. It's specifically elliptic curve cryptography, which is foundational to Bitcoin, that is, is threatened by quantum. But the fact that we already have pretty meaningfully adequate solutions to quantum is, from what I can tell, with BIP360. And by the way, go listen to our podcast. I had Hunter Beast on, who was sort of the mastermind of BIP360 in the last 4-6 months. I think he explains it very well. The point is, even if the risk is real and coming faster, and it doesn't require as much power from these quantum computers, I still think it is way overblown. And I think, to Tony's point, the much more important point is we can fix it. We could fix this tomorrow if we really needed to. So
absolutely.
That's where I'll let's see. Yeah, we've got some agreement here. We've got Elaine saying, wouldn't quantum screw up everything? I don't know about everything, but it would screw up a lot of things.
Yeah, pretty much everything. You'd have planes falling from the sky and shit like that. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Scare tactics. That's it. That's it. Is.
Somehow quantum magically bypasses everything else. Quantum.
Yeah, like your four-digit bank code, PIN code, that's somehow going to be safe. They don't talk about that one, right?
Unfortunately, I don't think quantum's releasing the Epstein or JFK files, because the people who have the fiat money to develop quantum are probably on the side of the people who are in the Epstein and JFK files, in my view.
Who knows, man? These are rabbit holes. These are rabbit holes, man, that run deep.
Rockabilly running BIP, signaling BIP 110.
There you go. You place your vote, man, with the node that you run.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? I would be doing everyone a disservice. I've done enough reading on quantum computing.
A quantum computer, just think of it as like a really, really powerful one that can, decrypt and do calculations like at an extremely, fast pace and high level too.
Let's see. Wait, before people realize quantum computing to hack anything costs around billions of dollars per minute of operation. Scale will I think that's true. It's like people who talk about the 51% attack in Bitcoin, and it's like, is it theoretically possible? Yes. Do you know how many ASICs you would need to turn on and how much energy you would need to spin up in order to operate half of the Bitcoin network for any period of time, much less a long period of time to where you're really creating some turmoil? I think it's just one of those things that is theoretically
people just
possible.
Love attention, man. It's just attention seeking and just providing nonsense out there for the sake of engagement. So
yeah, I won't mention the name. There's a prominent person I'm not going to call him a Bitcoiner, in the crypto space, who you've maybe seen tweeting about quantum, and someone responded to his tweet. He's spreading this FUD, and they responded to his tweet and said, Grok, what incentives might this individual and his companies have? And Grok spit out, well, they have these quantum solutions, and
follow the money.
Yeah, follow the money.
Follow the money, and you reveal the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Tony, we're about at time, man. Is there anything else you wanted to close on? Anything I missed today?
Any
That
comments or questions you guys have for me while we still have a couple of minutes? Put
yeah,
them
we'd
in the
love.
chat, please. Otherwise, smash that like button. Please tell your friends and everyone you care about to come join us next time. We'd
Yeah,
love to have more of you here, following
yeah.
up with all your comments and questions. It's great.
Please do it. Reminder that we're going to be back on Thursday. So we're moving to Tuesdays and Thursdays. I think this is going to be a better flow for us in terms of putting out content each week. But really appreciate, man, you guys showed up in droves this first Tuesday. Kelly says, thanks for everything. And let's see, aliens can 51% attack, but the incentive isn't there. That is
Aliens don't want to bother with such low levels of IQ.
Yeah. And then yeah, Jamie, thank you for being here. All righty,
Thanks,
guys.
Jamie.
I think that's it. Tony, good chatting as always, man. We'll be back Thursday. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in, for engaging in the chat, all the comments, questions. We love it. And we will be back with you guys very soon.
Sounds